Oh, sweet. Okay. Let's see if Meatballcraft shows up. 1, 2. Meatballcraft shows up. 1, 2. Meatballcraft shows up. Okay, not so vehicle. Hello. My audio is kinda crap. But that's okay. Hello, hello. Okay. I'm having a couple of technical difficulties, but we're logging on. Okay. Let's see. Nice. Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? I, I'm in between having a bit of a cold and my mic is not necessarily the best. So just making sure my audio is coming through. Okay, perfect. Nice. Let's see. Okay, let me get some ancient rock. I'm going to be waiting a couple of minutes just to make sure the game settles a little bit. So in the meantime, if you guys have any questions in chat, feel free to ask them out and I'll try to answer. Because I am currently live streaming from a laptop that is not particularly powerful, and OBS live streaming and Meatballcraft open all at the same time are struggling a little bit. But hopefully this works out. Okay. Nice. As long as things render, it's already a win. No crashes. Awesome. Okay, perfect. Okay, clear out my inventory a little bit. And we can get going in a second. Okay, how is the lore writing going? You said you found some inspiration. Yeah, so I can get started on that. Let me open up the quest book. So up until so on the current live patch, this is where quest text ends. I was able to get some time yesterday, so I was able to get these quests done and this section of the quest book as well. And basically all the new quests that are coming in the earlier chapters. That I'm going to be talking about those a little bit since they're part of the new content and they're involved in a couple of revamps that are happening to existing things. But yeah, the lore writing is good. It's very relaxing once I find the actual inspiration to do it. The hard part is to get to write the first 2 or 3 phrases. Then after that, it becomes fun. But the first 2 or 3 are a bit of a struggle. I'm definitely not a good writer, and you can probably see that in the way I write by reading the story and everything. But if you do read the story, of course. But it's still a fun thing to do, and I grew up reading books basically my entire life. So it's nice to try and be on the other side. So of writing together with reading as well. And yeah, as you all see, you all have seen, those who read the quest book, it's chock full of references to fantasy books, a couple of video games, and that sort of stuff. Okay, voice is warming up a little bit, which is nice, so I think I can get to talking. I think I can start off with what I think are, at least personally, one of my favorite things that are coming in updates, which is in the form of a new multi-block and a rework to an existing multi-block. So the new multi-block is the Megillium Detonator. So for those that I've seen my post about it on feedback, this is how you are going to be automating Megallium, which is a late game material used in Chapter 8 for those that are in earlier in the pack that may not know. And it's a very particular material because you craft it by blowing up a draconic reactor nearby ancient rock. Unfortunately, the draconic reactor cannot be automatically detonated. It needs player input. So up until this point in progression, Megallium has only been used for one-off recipes. But as of next update, it's actually going to play a role, which I'm going to be showing now, which is for upgraded recipes for the Entropinium. This is one of those crafting steps that in the end game is required to be taken many times, and the base recipe in the Petal Apothecary was too slow, so the way it's being reworked is you gain there's this new item, the Entropic Seedling, that is still crafted in the Petal Apothecary. I think it's a cool automation to do, and assuming that it's not a bottleneck anymore, it shouldn't be as big of a source of lag, which sometimes it can be since you're dropping items in Word. So you have this new item that can get then crafted with Megallium and a couple of upgraded tiers, and you can get Entropiniums out of that. Okay, Adiel says, I wonder if I could control the reactor with some bindings via computer. Possibly. I tried to do some work with reactor automation. The issue is that the reactor itself doesn't have an inventory that nothing interacts with. So the way you're supposed to, the step of putting in the actual draconium blocks into the GUI, as far as I know, can only be performed by a player. The automation, though, will not be a problem anymore because of the new Megallium detonator, which you can see here in Word. Essentially, it's one of those advanced multi-blocks. It has a biome requirement, which at the moment is the end. I'll probably keep that since it makes sense. So John Stenwick says, which chapter are the new multi-blocks? So the Megallium detonator is going to be chapter 8. There's going to be others that are coming in a bit earlier. And to say a little bit about the Megallium detonator, it's a bit different than other multi-blocks that have been added in the pack, since to operate it actually requires for blocks to be placed inside of its volume. So I'm going to be putting down some ancient rock. If you check the JEI preview, the setup will show the area of effects inside of the volume of the Megallium detonator for which it operates. So you can place down ancient rocks in this shape around the draconic reactor core. And whenever, so you see nothing is happening as I'm placing blocks, but as soon as I place a block here, I'm going to be waiting a little bit. A big explosion happens, and boom, we got some Megallium. So this is going to be how the material is going to be automated as of updates, and I showed that that is how you're going to be unlocking the better recipes for the Entropinium. Another multi-block revamp is for the safe nuke environment. It still has a similar shape as the prior version. This is a chapter 7/chapter 8 multi-block that is used to make Californium 256. And it used to be a fairly boring machine where you input fluids and it outputs different types of fluids. This one has also been revamped to work as an inward crafting to make automation a bit more engaging. So the way it works is that the machine itself has 3 different fluid recipes. I made a little JEI setup for it. Since it requires a bit of setup, you can see here as you hover over the arrow, place the nuke below the controller and all fluids inside the multi-block will be converted. So the multi-block actually does sort of trigger a nuke explosion. So I'm going to be placing down the fluids that are involved in the recipe here. They can be anywhere, so I can place it here and anywhere inside this 7 by 5 by 5 volume. And if I get a nuke and plop it right on top of this tree, it's going to wait around 100 ticks and it's going to blow it up and it's going to convert all the fluids in their respective outputs. There we go. And now we got the things that we're crafting for. So with regards to these 2 changes, the objective here is to have multi-blocks that are a bit more engaging and that require a bit more of an intelligent setup to automate, which I think is somewhat needed. Lucas says real world Kali 250. Yeah, basically, we're blowing nukes up inside of a multi-block to make. This would be Kali 256. That's going to be the new way of obtaining it. So with some nuke detonations. Okay, with that said, I can get into, I guess, some quest book reworks that are happening. The first of which is going to be for the Tinkerer's Toolbox. After the revamp, some things have been changed, so the quest book page is going to be marked as work in progress. Out of the 2 new / reworked quest tabs, Tinkerer's Toolbox is the one that is most finished, but it's still marked as VIP since most likely players will have feedback and things to suggest with regards to how it's set up. And the way it is set up, it's to mimic the tier list structure that their quest tabs like the Super Enchanting or Armory have, where things are sorted by chapters. So each column will have the materials from a given chapter, and they're going to be ranked in 3 tiers, going from okay to good to great, where the hope here is to give players a bit more transparency to basically with respect to what materials are good, what materials are bad, and all of that stuff. Together with this, there is going to be a new feature. Let me pull out a material that I know will work exactly here, to where if you click on a shard that is in the great category, so I did not implement this for good and okay, but only for the ones that are marked as great, you will get these new recipes that will tell you, okay, this material is going to be good for shurikens and it's going to be good for making swords, for example, and it will tell you the chapter where you can unlock it. Alternatively, let's say you care about possibly looking into upgrades for your shuriken, you can just see filtered by chapter all of the materials that end up being good. Just 1 second. I'm going to lower the game volume a little bit because it's a bit loud on my end. Okay, nice. Perfect. So back to this section. So hopefully this will bring a bit more transparency to how Tinker's construct is handled. Another change, which is more on the content side of things, is that the reinforcement modifier has a new recipe, which uses refined obsidian sliver. So the reasoning behind this change is to try and curb a little bit people in chapter 1 rushing towards a shuriken and basically disregarding every other weapon option. Because essentially the what makes the shuriken so busted is the fact that it's very easy to make it unbreakable. This new recipe is going to make the task of it take a bit more effort. So the way you craft it is either from refined obsidian slivers or from refined obsidian flakes. As you get started in the pack, so in the overworld, the only way of getting this material is through the flakes. So you're going to be needing 81 times 5. So about 450 of those. Right? Napkin math. The No, for about 400 of them, sorry. About 400 of these to make a shuriken unbreakable. And the way you get these items is either through Battle Tower loot or through some dungeon chests. So if you want to get an unbreakable Tinker's weapon very early on in the pack, it's going to be a bit of a struggle. But as you get into chapter 2, the obsidian slivers, which are much easier to be used for crafting reinforcement modifiers, are going to be a somewhat common loot in many of the chapter 2 dimensions. So it's going to be loot in the Twilight Forest, in Aseika, in the Meatballcraft dimensions, in the Aether, and in a couple of places. There's also going to be a rare drop in Woodland Mansions. So if you're willing to grind for it early in the pack, you will still have the option to go for an unbreakable shuriken very early on, but it's going to be a bit more of a grindy task. Now, to try and help you out with durability for Tinker's things that are not shuriken, namely for tools, I added a new modifier, which is the Blood Hunter modifier, which is fairly easy to craft. You basically need to do the Blood Moon event either through the recursive paper or through the Advent of Ascension events. And through this, you get a new trait, which is Blood Hunter, which makes it so that every time you break a block with a tool that has been modified with this trait, you will gain experience, and it has 3 levels that increase the chance of dropping experience. And it's tuned in such a way that if you combine this with Mending Moss, you can still make a hammer or a pickaxe that is unbreakable. So this is sort of a way to circumvent, to nerf shurikens a little bit, but to still give you good durability for Tinker's tools if you want to use a hammer or a pickaxe early on for mining. In terms of Tinker's materials, there's a few new ones. In early game, I added the Heartbone, which is basically just a very high durability option, and it has a new custom trait. that's more there for people that want to mess around with builds a little bit. And I'm not going to spend too much time on the other Tinker's materials, but there's going to be a few of them that are related to EMC-less challenge. So they're basically going to be new materials that have custom traits that add drops when you either break blocks or kill mobs that make it so that you get items that are useful for EMC-less that you cannot obtain otherwise. So an example of those would be for Arcanium, which is a big struggle for those that do EMC-less. You can get it through the Arcane Extraction trait, which is on, it basically becomes a block broken loot, random loot that you can get while breaking blocks. And later on, there's upgrades that give you Arcanium blocks, or even a more compressed version of Arcanium, which you can use in the later chapters. Someone says, hell yeah, there's going to be a lot of EMC-less stuff that I'm going to go through. I'm not going to mention all of them, but Arcanium is one example. There's, I want to say, 6 or 7 new Tinker's materials that do similar things. Okay, YoshiGD says, that seems like a great way to do the XP thing, but is there something easy to find that guides the players towards the XP from block modifier, like a main quest and quest? Actually, yeah. You will be getting a few of these as quest rewards in some of the early quests, so that you are made aware of it. And actually, this is a good segue. In general, some of the quest rewards in the early game have been tweaked a little bit, mostly to help you make you aware of things that exist without necessarily pointing you in that particular direction. So the hope here is to give a bit more guidance without actually yellow taping the player, if they so. So if you have somebody that's attentive and actually reads rewards, you can get a bit more guidance, a bit more quality of life as you're getting started, because it's a common occurrence that people get a little bit overwhelmed, especially newbies. So the hope here is to provide gradual explanations as opposed to giving you just text walls. If I wanted to do this perfectly, I would probably need to revamp things substantially with the early game. I don't think I want to do that. So it is a little bit of a band-aid solution, but I hope it ends up working okay, or at least better than what it used to be. And Low Burning Lake. Hope GTNH is going well. Okay. And since I have the quest book open, seems like a good time to talk about the new warpers. They're not going to be exact warpers per se. I'm not going to spoil exactly what they do, but there are going to be 2 new warpers, the Homeseeker warper and the Homebound warper. And they're going to be playing a role in a bit of a rework that is happening with the returning point. So very, very endgame things. I'm not going to spoil it for people that don't want to, but this is how you get to the Lost Cities dimension, who has been reworked quite substantially in terms of its word gen, and which plays a pretty big role in the lore of Meatballcraft for those who care about the lore. and there's basically going to be some puzzles that involve these two new warpers. Uh, it's not a big deal if you're somebody in late game that needs to catch up. You can get this done in about 20 minutes. It's just a cute thing that fits, in my opinion, a bit better with the lore, which is why I did it. Okay, so now we can get into, and yeah, so this is one of the two new warpers, and the other one is in chapter 3. Okay, someone is, Guilherme is asking, sorry for the out of context question, which country are you from? I am Italian. I hope my accent doesn't make me too hard to understand. But yeah, I definitely have a bit of an accent whenever I speak English, and by a bit I mean a lot. So before I get to the endgame things, I'll go through real quick a couple of new things that are coming. Mysterium progression, so the Dragon Slayer branch is getting a new mini boss slash boss slash mini puzzle, which is going to be playing a role in both a rework to a couple of systems. The first of which is for life essence farming. So it felt a bit weird to just give you Eldritch Blood Slime, which is very bad, in chapter 3, and then send you straight to the Droplet of the Great Snake in chapter 8. That's essentially your infinite, very easy life essence farm. So I added an intermediate step, which is going to be in chapter 5, where you can get some good life essence generation a bit early on, so that you don't have to set up a bunch of altars with runes of displacement. And the other change is going to be with respect to the recipe for sanguine cloth. This is a material that, as you progress, becomes more and more used in larger and larger amounts. So there's going to be a little bit of a crafting chain where you upgrade the ingredients for making it into better and better tiers, and the start of this chain is with the new chapter 5 content. Yoshi says, what's the non-water fluid for the blood generation recipe? It's molten rhenium. So if you have a rhenium farm or an immersive engineering vein miner in Rhenia, it should be more than enough to keep up. Let me see. Yeah, it uses one bucket for, one ingot of rhenium for 100,000 life essence. Okay, so that's more or less the chapter 5 change. There's a bit of lore connected to it, which is somewhat inspired by Berserk for those that like that manga. And then moving on, there's going to be a new boss slash puzzle, a little bit of content related to Pixonia. Since Silksong came out in between the last update and this one, I wanted to add some Hollow Knight related content. I still need to write the lore for this quest, but there's going to be a couple of Hollow Knight related Easter eggs and a new system in the form of the Pale Metal, which hopefully will be a new way to balance out armor in the mid game. Let me take a sip of water. Because for those that are playing into the later chapters, there is a bit of an issue where you have a lot of a lot of armor sets, but only a few of them are good, and those are the ones that are unbreakable because of the way Last Stand works. And in order to help you out with that, you could use pale metal to turn a set of armor sets, and you can see here it's 62 pages of JEI. It's quite big to turn other armor sets into unbreakable ones. So for this, I've mostly selected sets that also add some sort of quality of life. So for example, the Ender IO armor, so that if you wanted to, you can put all the additions on it, and it actually turns into a good set of armor. Same for Terra Steel, Stellar, all of those. I also made it for the Electroblob armor sets. I don't know if magic builds are still to the point where they are S tier. They're definitely A tier, but not S tier. But the hope with other rebalancing that's going on as well is to try and hopefully make them a bit more viable. And so adding the Electroblob sets here maybe could push you into that direction. And then finally, there's going to be a bunch of sets that I think they look cool. So I added them so that if people want to transmog and have like actually useful armor that also looks good, they can do that. Maybe people could go, let's see. There's possibly some builds that may become viable here. So I have the famine armor, which gives you buffs depending on how hungry you are. There is the fortress, the warped fortress armor, which should have been fixed. We forked Atomic Wonders, so the pack is going to be used, a forked version of Atomic Wonders, and basically this armor will buff you depending on how much warp you have. So maybe there's some cool builds that can come out of that. And yeah, more aesthetic armor. And I also added a few shields. I don't think shields will ever become viable, but maybe somebody could come up with some funny Thorns builds that could be interesting. I don't know. It felt like a good idea to do that. So, okay. So now, and I mean, quick thing for the mythic shells. There were already a few upgraded recipes for the various mythic shell stars. As of update, basically all of them will have an upgrade that gets them to 8x parallel. That's just so that basically bottlenecks are relieved, and the general rule of thumb is if you unlock a star, let's say chapter 4, you'll get the first upgrade in chapter 5, the second one in chapter 6, and so on and so forth. With some being gated behind a couple of puzzles or some side quests. But that's basically just a infra upgrade. And speaking of big infra upgrades, since I see them here, another big issue that players were reporting were the Astral Sorcery aspected gems. I forget what the perk gems. All of those are getting recipe upgrades as part of a new crafting chain. I'm not going to go through all the steps, but basically starting in chapter 6 and into the later chapters, you'll be able to unlock better recipes for those. Okay, what's the Mortum Star recipe? That's probably the most important at the moment. Okay, let me pull that up. So you get... so this is chapter 10 stuff. So after you've completed the canon ending, you'll be able to get the 8x recipe. I think the perk gem issue was mostly just that was really annoying, wasn't it? Nah, so a lot of the issues I'm addressing, and I should probably have said that, may not be for everyone in terms of rates, but they're definitely going to be an issue for TARDIS. So you may see a lot of things that may or may not seem useful to you, even if you're in early chapter 10, but by the time you're into the post-game stuff, they're going to become a bit more relevant. And as a matter of fact, probably in terms of actual systems, the majority of the updates is TARDIS related things. And I guess I can get into it because basically, with regards to actual content that is not just recipe upgrades, I'm not going to go through every single recipe upgrades. I'm mostly done with things that are early game and mid game. We can get. Oh, actually, here is a funny one. I skipped this new quest tab, which is the much needed weapon tier list. So it's going to still be very, very work in progress. This is because as I'm adding things, I am actively tweaking damage numbers. So this is going to take probably 2 or 3, possibly 4 or 5 updates to get fully done. So it's going to be marked as work in progress for a bit. But there's a few funny goodies. So the dart gun may possibly be the best new chapter 1 weapon after the shuriken nerf. It says here it does 100 damage. It actually does 50. I don't know why Advent of Ascension shows numbers doubled, but it felt funny to have a build where you want to fill up your inventory with seeds and you throw them at your enemies very, very hard. And there's going to be a few more guns that have been tuned and have either been given new recipes and higher numbers to enter the meta a little bit, including the impulse cannon, which I think is going to be a funny one for those that have not seen it. Let me see. I may need to charge it up or not. Okay, yeah. You just shoot big old void lasers, and I think it's super cool. So I try to make it an actually good weapon. Okay, so back to the late game, end game, post game stuff, which is where I'll probably be spending most of the time. So people rejoice. We got a bunch of upgrades. Again, I'm not going to show all of them, but this one is probably very relevant. Blood Magic Slates now have progressive tiers of production. So the base ingredient are these slate catalysts that basically you're going to have a version for each type of slate that crafts basically the same way as normal slates would do, but you start off from the deep slate catalyst, which is going to become available in chapter 4, but as you progress, you'll get better and better ways of, one, keeping it automated, and two, being actually able to get better yield with your recipes. So you start off from Bloodstone, then in chapter 5 you get Crystallite, then in chapter 8 you get Shard Gem, and late chapter 8, early chapter 9, you can get the Eternal Dragonfire gem. And this is going to be, for some ingredients, things are going to be more expensive. For some things, it's going to be cheaper. But most importantly, it's going to be very, very fast. Okay, and now, and I guess, spoiler alert somewhat. I'll try to not actually open up any of the callstones or go to any of the new dungeons, but endgame is getting a whole lot of new stuff, and most of it is going to be optional things. If you're just a canon ending player, you're going to see basically more side quests that give you more goodies, which you may not find useful right away, but if you're going for some of the harder endings, so Brain Line, Black Hole Juice, or TARDIS, they're going to be a big help. So the first of which is a new multi-block, which I should have pinned, but it's okay. I think that's, yeah, so the AC Resonator. It's going to be available in Chapter 9, if I recall. And it basically, it's going to be used for some Chapter 10 crafting chains, and it's going to be your big Tech Reborn booster. For those that have crafted any of the Dyson multi-blocks, they eat through insane amounts of Tech Reborn circuits. So this chain, which can be done both through crafting and through automation, so that it can be through multi-blocks, so that it can be parallelized, will give you better recipes for the various circuits. I think up until 32 per recipe. So this hopefully should give a big jolt for people that are kind of stuck in the earlier Dysons, and it should hopefully reduce some of the slog for Quasar Gang, which actually for those that are early gamers, Quasar Gang is your last truly massive multi-block. I'm going towards it. I'm trying to remember where I placed it. It's not here. And yeah, this is my test word. Very messy, very unorganized, but I like it. It's cool. Okay, where? It's a freaking stupidly large multi-block. Why can I miss it? Where did I put it? Ba, ba, ba. Is it down this way? Okay, that was one of the iterations. It ended up being scrapped, and yeah, here you can see the final version of it. This is it's for one of the side endings. It's just extremely expensive to make. Each of these blocks requires a stupid amount of materials. So whenever you see me kind of going through recipes that give you stupidly large amounts of things, so I'm going to be using Botania runes as an example as well. Oh, there's a recipe that gives you 250 runes. That's because this guy will eat through them at an incredible rate. And then, of course, you have TARDIS, which is by itself extremely, extremely expensive. So, okay, back to actual content. The canon ending is getting one extra step, similar to how the returning point is being handled. It felt like I needed a little bit of a lore element to add a bit more weight to it. So you'll see there's a new side quest here coming from Trinity Ingot. this is sort of a requirement for completing canon ending. And for those that have noticed, there's this big old line that is new to chapter 10. And it's going to be involving a few puzzles, a few callstones. There is no boss fights. There's basically no new boss fights in chapter 10, since technically you can do all of this stuff after you have unlocked one of the endings that makes you pretty much invincible and one-shot everything. So I thought it would be best to have the RPG elements come from puzzles or from doing some inward crafting, some rituals, as opposed to fighting a boss that would be a pushover. But this chain, it will gate a few upgrades. Probably the one that's the most relevant, which I am going to show, is Hungering Word Soul. This is something that is used in very, very large amounts in the end game, and so by getting started on the chain, you'll gain an upgrade where you basically get 2 free souls every 8, together with some parallelization, and then by completing parts of Quasar Gang, so you would be up to the second tier, I believe, of Quasar Gang. So, because yeah, this multi-block, it's actually a bunch of different multi-blocks intertwined with each other. And as you expand this structure, you'll gain a few more new materials and new recipes, which either give you higher rates of base things or more parallelization. And connected to it, there's also going to be a couple of RPG things that you do. They're mostly motivated by lore reasons. I wanted to wrap up some of the early game storylines in these dimensions. So there's going to be some stuff related to those. That is going to be an incredible boost. Yeah, if you're talking about the Hungering Word Soul, yeah. I think from what I recall, the person that had accumulated the most of it was at about 0.17% of what you actually need to craft a TARDIS. So this should be hopefully a big boost. And there's going to be a couple more goodies here. In general, though, there are 3 ingredients that are going to be making up a lot of your endgame infrastructure, and those are the Trinity Bits, the Dust of Infinite Wishes, and your Quasar Charged Dust. I'm just going to be panning through, but there's going to be lots and lots of upgraded recipes that use these ingredients. So better Stones of Universal Balance, more upgrades for Draconic Cores. This is going to be part of the Entropinium recipe upgrades, more Sacred Cinders upgrades, more, yeah, Sacred Cinders again. Garnet upgrades. I don't think the garnets themselves are going to be the big motivation to do those, but if you wanted to, you can get them with this would be the space-time fuel. So by completing the big ring in the multi-block, you get both much higher Eye of Gallifrey and Cut Garnets yield. I would assume most people would do this for the Eyes of Gallifrey. And yeah, a big component of the endgame loop is going to be just being able to automate these so that you have very large amounts of them. So for example, Quasar Charge Dust, This is, I think, already in the pack, but for more brainline tiers, you get higher yield uh, from your uh, from your quasar gems. And for both Trinity fragments and Dust of Infinite Wishes, there's going to be some progression tied to unlocking and crafting weird pickaxes to get better yield from your ingots. And with regards to the Dust of Infinite Wishes, there's going to be a bit of a quirky one where, depending on the tier of your Terra Shatterer, recipes are going to be yielding varying amounts of dust. So the incentive here, of course, is to fill, to put in 2 billion mana in your Terra Shatterer and get, I want to say, 2 stacks of, no, maybe even 4 stacks of dust from a single ingot. And yeah, I'm just panning over a couple of other upgrades. Oh yeah, there is going to be a new little bit of RPG stuff at the end of Brainline. So not only you get a stupidly powerful sword, which I think is quite funny, with level 20,000 enchantments for a bunch of stuff, but you can also level up your pets in a funny way. That's mostly for RPG flavor text stuff, but it felt cool. I know people have pet dragons in their base, so this would essentially be a way to, since you yourself are kind of a god by this point in the pack, to also turn your pet dragon into a god. Although I'm not going to show exactly what's going to happen there. So in terms of main content, again, I am not showing every single recipe upgrade. Basically, the entirety of this page in JEI consists of items that play a role in recipe upgrades. I'm not going to be showing all of them, but I can pan through some. And you'll hopefully get an idea. Let's see, Better Gaia Spirits. That's for some dupes. Oh, this is for EMC-less. Oh, actually, this one may be relevant. The Dragon Slayer Crucible is getting a bit of a rework. It now to operate, it now requires a Hellfire configurator, which can be chiseled into different modes so that you can produce will in larger areas so that builds can be a bit more forgiving with regards to will automation. So if you just want, because if the way they currently are in 0.18.2, they only spread will to a single chunk. With these modes, you can do multiple chunks and a bit of parallelization as well. So this will consume 25 crystals and spread 2500 will between 25 chunks. So that would be sort of the way to make builds a bit more forgiving and making it a bit easier to place your Dragon Slayer multi-blocks. Okay, now we can finally get to Alchemical Ore Line. The entirety of the items that you see here, both textured and untextured, are part of a single crafting chain, which has been the bane of my existence. It took about a month and a half to do entirely, and that's going to be the main way for EMC-less players to get Eternalis Fuel. So if you're not an EMC-less player, more or less what I wanted to say about the update I have said, now let's get into alchemical ore line. So the start of all of this is alchemical ore, which is going to be obtainable in a few ways. So if you're in chapter 2, you can either find this as loot in a bunch of different dungeons. Not all chests are shown by the JEI thing, but basically in every single chapter 2 dimension that you explore, to actually get it, as you get it in chapter 2, it's probably not going to be particularly great, but as you unlock better and better ways of processing it, which is the bulk of alchemical online, the yield from it becomes better and better. So by itself, you just combine it with a Philosopher's Stone, and it makes Eternalis fuel. 1-to-1 yield. Okay? Very, very basic. If instead, in the early chapters, by chapter 3, and I think this is already in the pack, but just in case, you'll be able to do Mark of the Fallen Tower to get it. So I would assume that the meta for EMCLS will consist of doing a bunch of rituals and then chucking which can only be done manually, and to then chuck your alchemical ore into the processing. So the way the chain works is through exponential growth. So the chain itself has about 30 steps. You will not be able to craft every single step as you unlock the ore. And basically, as you progress through the chapters, and as you unlock new crafting mechanics, so starting from chapter 2 all the way to the end, as you unlock new things, you unlock new steps to this line that make your rate exponentially grow. So I'm going to be going through just the steps to show it a little bit. So you start off with Essences of Petrification. And to start you off with something that's a bit quirky, you are going to need to automate the alchemy table. So the way you're supposed to do it is you use cutting fluid, which has durability to process it, but and this may already actually be in the update, I forget. There are recipes that let you repair cutting fluid, so you can make a system that recycles it. And it may not be evident now, but this crafting chain, and you'll see it as I start going through it, will produce a stupid amount of items. By the final tier, a single ore will give you about 4.5 billion Eternalis fuels. So, and there's basically no item transfer system that can move items that fast. So for basically every single step in the crafting chain, so I'm going to show alchemical grounds, for example, we'll have a compressed, double compressed, triple compressed versions that are doable in a drawer. Those do not have crafting table compacting. That's because they do not have crafting table compacting. That's so that players aren't incentivized to use crafters which are laggy. You actually need to use the compacting drawers. So as rates grow, essentially each step makes the production rate grow up exponentially. So for the for later tiers, so for example, Alchemical Ascension, they go all the way to non-apple compressed. So the way you're kind of supposed to do it and I can use this step as an example. You do an elephant trade, you double your yield. Okay, now you have a bit more of it. I can put it in a compacting drawer so that I'm working with compressed versions and I process the compressed versions faster. So you have the single, that's traded, the compressed, double compressed, triple compressed, etc., etc. So that's the idea. In theory, if I did my math correctly, you can get away with unupgraded conduits to do the entirety of the crafting chain to move things between the machines so that your item rates are good enough. So from alchemical grounds, we get into alchemical deposits to Elven trade. Then we crystallize them into alchemical sediment. And as you're seeing, every time one input, two outputs. So that's where that exponential growth is coming. Then through a crucible with some terra, you make alchemical silt. Then you induction smelt it with some voidor miner drops to make alchemical clay. Then you atomic reconstruct it into alchemical terracotta. Then you inscribe it. These are not consumed into alchemical crag. Then you use some molten steel to make alchemical gravel. Then into alchemy. And as you see, at each step, you can get Eternalis fuel, or you can keep going if you have the means to do it. You can post-process it again. So these are still all the chapter 3 the things that you can do while you're still in chapter 3. And yes, I try to make it so that you actually use all of the books if you want to do AMC-less for some sort of craft. And for some of them, you'll need to craft multiples of them. Then you use some big reactor automation to get alchemical shards. Then you need to do some fission to do the next step. So for alchemical geode, this one is a bit more interesting. Every different compressed versions have different heat values and have their own different reactor designs that you may want to use. Yeah, different builds. And some of them are like the easy, simple builds. For some of them, you'll need to make your HERRR as a chapter 3 build. Now going forward, you need to do some solid state. I know this crafting mechanic is a bit laggy, so if need be in the future, I'll replace it with the inertial fusion reactor since the multi-block is already there. Then you do some steam infusions. And that's kind of where you get your first big gate for alchemical ore, where you need passive sednanite and a plasmatic condenser setup. So this would be right around late chapter 3, early chapter 4, where the chain, if I did my math correctly, that's around where you get about 100,000 alchemical coal per ore. And so I would assume that's where you can switch off your coal seed farms and start using alchemical ore for making Eternalis fuel. Then into chapter 4, there's going to be a bit of draconic infusion. Most of the recipes themselves, they are fairly fast. There's going to be a couple of exceptions, but given the fact that you can do compressed versions, so the innervation, for example, already gets all the way to sextuple compressed. It's going to just be one infusion, 8,000 RF. That should be fairly fast. Then you need to do some ichor automation. This one should be interesting. you don't end up using a lot of it. So alchemical taint, even at the most compressed tier, you only use 2 ichor, so you're incentivized to go compressed. But it should make EM-Sealess a bit more quirky that you have to keep acquiring ichor in some way even after you have the singularity, which is the sole amount you need for just regular players. Okay, drinking some water and moving forward. We're doing some skeletal stuff in the Illuminated Enchanter. We're doing some runic altar, very simple stuff, but again, the objective here is more to make you use a ton of crafting mechanics, as opposed to making the crafting mechanics themselves particularly hard, assuming, of course, you have the required ingredients. We do some nether steel loom with some weird fluids. Cursed sapphire, so you're going to be doing some meteors. That's chapter 5 stuff. Some chapter 6 puzzles, and that's where this is probably the harder, quote unquote, harder part of the chain, where you're going to be crafting coalstones. You're going to be opening said coalstones. This can be done with a mechanical user. I can show. I actually need to orient it vertically. There we go. And it's going to be automatically placing down the coalstone, and you can have some automatic breaker to actually get the next step in the processing chain. And actually, this is not an EM-Sealess thing. If you want to actually automate the new reinforcement modifier, the way you dupe refined obsidian is, if you have done the furnace dimension, you can do that with the pale sandstone pebble, which is a drop from the Fruix coalstone. That's the, depending on how you play, the first or second coalstone you open in the pack. If you want to actually passive reinforcement modifiers, you don't really have to. But if you wanted to, the automation involves placing down, breaking, and replacing coalstones to farm these pale sandstone pebbles. What's the ideal saying? It's actually broken and dropped when the structure replaces the previous. Did something similar for spinels. Oh, okay, perfect. Awesome. So yeah, I think there is some existing EM-Sealess tech that uses coldstone breaking. I, to be honest, don't know the intricacies of it. I just know it's possible, so I added it as a crafting mechanic. So this would be like chapter 6 steps. I believe you're already in the millions of. No, at this point, I think you're in the high hundreds of thousands. Eternalis fuel per ore. And as you get into chapter 8 and 9, that's where you get into the millions. So this is still. Oh, yeah. And for both EM-Sealess and TARDIS, yeah, someone says spinels and record fragments need coalstone automation. Yes, they do. Another bit of automation that is going to be both used for EM-Sealess and for TARDIS. It's the automation of field shulker boxes that have certain items inside them in a particular order. So the example here, for this recipe, you need a yellow shulker box with a polished andesite in the first slot, polished granite in the second, and polished diorite in the third. There's a couple of ways you can do this. Probably the easiest and fastest method would be super factory manager. And there is a TARDIS component, I believe, using a light gray shulker box. Will it show up? Not. Yeah, I don't see it. Yeah, for one of the new fluids, you're going to need to be automating full shulker boxes. That felt like a funny, quirky, and different automation, so I went for it. Okay, back to EMC-less. And yeah, this is where we get to you're going to be using the chapter 8 Eye of Gallifrey multi-blocks. So this is already millions and millions of Eternalis fuel. That's more or less the point in the pack where you're going to start caring about how much fading matter you use. I believe, if I recall, it's about 17 million Eternalis fuel for one fading matter. I should have tuned it in such a way so that around this point in the pack you get from a couple of millions to 10, 15 millions per ore from this line. Going on, you're going to need to doing some Dyson sphere looping for one of the steps. Most likely, if you're doing EMC-less at this point, energy B will still quite hard. I forgot the name of the item, but for those that are curious, in chapter 9, you what's there? Oh yeah, this one here. You need to use a lot of fading matter. For EMC-less at this point, it would be a bit hard, but once you get into more upgrades to the chain, it should become easier and easier. Since I want to say you need about 500,000. Sorry, you need about 5 or 6 of these alchemical particles to finish the pack. Each of these is 100,000 fading matter. Each fading matter is 17 million Eternalis fuel. That's where the big numbers end up coming in. Okay, so kind of continuing. This is more to show. So yeah, this is the chapter 10. So Kashan will give you actualizing stone. Here you're going to need to do some oh crap, I may have crashed myself. Okay. Saved some soul accumulator automation using a little bit of stuff from Brainline. I haven't really so far the progress I've done for EMC-less goes up to the canon ending. I don't know if I want to get into all the other endings as well, but you'll need to do at least a little bit of Brainline for the upgrades to alchemical ore. I think by tier 2 or 3 you should already have enough inquiring matter to keep this automation with 100% processing rate. This is from your Kashan Mythic Miner. And then that's where the point, so past Kashan Miner, that's where in the for normal players where you start getting just by default very very large amounts of EMC, since that's kind of the point where you're like, okay, you don't really need it, let me give you stupidly large amounts just because it's funny. That's also where alchemical ore line starts having 4x multipliers instead of just double multipliers, so that you can wrap things up a bit faster and actually get those 5 or 6 alchemical particles that you need for canon ending. So you do some transmutation, and finally, this would be the final step. You need to get into Fuhai and Travixta. So those are technically side quests. So up until this point, if you're just going for canon, but it would be kind of that final optional thing that if you're an EMC-less player going for canon and you need that final little boost, you can do a bit of content that goes towards the other endings and still be able to make it. With regards to EMC-less, as I said earlier, there have been a lot of other reworks. There's been tons and tons of recursives being added. If for basically all things, again, up until canon ending, I know someone has reported, I don't know if you're still in chat, has reported some things that will become necessary for doing some of the other endings. I did not touch any of those. At least for the time being, I'm only concerned about canon ending because it was already, to be honest, idiotic amount of time spent on it. Oh, okay, yes. Bright Matter is getting a couple, so it's going to be getting a new recursive in the Valonite Gateway. Where... Okay, wait. Oh yeah, you want to do some B-Stargate automation for it. I don't know if the rate is going to be good at all, to be honest, but it's a start and I want to see how things evolve. In general, Spirit Fruit has been getting a few more buffs. So as you progress, you'll get better ways. So for Bright Matter is going to be used, and also for Deep Blue Matter, you get a new recursive as well. And this combined also with all the new Mythic Minor drops. Is Alchemical Ore Line required for TARDIS? At the moment, no. I'm considering possibly adding it actually. I can wrap up the stream with a bit of a TARDIS update. So I don't know if any... Actually, Adiel, I know, was around during that time. So back in the days, the recursion prison key used to be... So this is before Halite line was a thing. It used to have a much simpler recipe. And kind of one of the struggles I wanted to try and address was that to get to newer Halite line, you needed to complete a bunch of side quests, and players were sort of ignoring those side quests a bunch of the time. So the recursion prison key recipe was changed. This was almost a year ago now, so that you needed to complete at least once a bunch of the side quests that would then become required for automation of Halite Ingot. So you have the general idea is that you have a big recipe that may feel like a bit of a wall at a certain point in the pack, so that you're made aware of a bunch of gates that are going to show up in larger amounts later on. So for TARDIS, I'm sort of doing the same thing, to where the recipe of the casing, it's becoming a bit quote-unquote harder, in the sense that if you're going from... okay, Adil says it updated right as I reached it. I assume you're talking about recursion prison key. So yeah, TARDIS casing is going to be somewhat the same, with a bit of a different approach, where the objective here is to use some new crafting ingredients that to obtain you have to go through the crafting chains that will give you better recipes. So for example, to get this catalyst of natural law, you need the recursion of natural law, which is a new item that also just so happens to give you a better hyperuranium ingot recipe. So that's generally the idea. I don't think TARDIS will quite be achievable in update. Maybe it is, but most likely there are going to be a few more bottlenecks. So the idea here is to replace some of the dummy items out around here in the corners with crafting recipes that will force you to look into the side quests that make your infrastructure better and faster. So here again, you use the Wyvernium Matrix, which is also used for this Heart of the Cursed Wyverns, which make better Draconic machine frames, etc., etc., right? I'm not going to go through everything, but that's sort of the idea, to where hopefully by doing this, even players that are not super careful about looking into all the recipes are still made aware of upgrades that they can get. Arc reactor upgrade from balanced casing. Yeah, there is a lot of stuff that that is going to be showing up to end game again. I forget how much time I spent working on this, but it's probably a couple of months, so it's going to be hard to list everything. But I guess before I hop off, if there are particular things that people may want to see, I can probably answer a couple of questions in that front. Otherwise, excuse me. Otherwise, I can log off. So yeah, if there are things you think are slow, I can let you know if I added recipe buffs for them or not. Okay, have spatial processors been changed? Sort of. So spatial processors are going to be, I assume you mean the ascended spatial processors. You get a recipe that makes them double. That's the initial upgrade. So that whenever you make your ascended spatial chassis, you get about half the cost. A big change here is that basically all of the other ingredients as well are getting upgrades. Let me see. No, here. So, for example, your well-defined machine chassis. Oh wait, I'm clicking on all the things that are not getting upgrades. Your hyperuranon cases, for example, have a 2x recipe with a bit of cheaper stuff. And same for all the other steps. I would assume that these are still going to be a bit of a bottleneck. What I hope happens is that I will have, because something that I want to try to avoid is that effect where, oh wait, making the normal spatial processors the challenge because the crafting speed required the amount of processors and pure fluids. Oh, actually, I did some work with that. Let me pull out the clean room. It's getting more upgrades. So you'll be able to do 100x parallelization for that. And this is going to be gated. by basically doing a bit of by starting TARDIS gang, Quasar gang, essentially. Uh, if need be, I can add a 1000x parallel, but I'm trying to do things gradually because I know that there is a good amount of people that are just sitting right around this part of the quest book and are just waiting to jump the gun and then try to speedrun TARDIS. And I think it would be a bit anticlimactic to have an update come out and right the day after people get to TARDIS. So the hope with the more gradual upgrades, and some of them are still going to be substantial, but still on a more reasonable scale, I'm not going to run into the issue where it's too hard right until the point where it becomes way too easy from nowhere. Uh, So, and that's part of why there are a lot of new recipes, is that instead of making, let's say, a single recipe for the ascended spatial chassis that is 10 times better, instead I make all of the ingredients better bit by bit. So that I think it feels better with regards to just getting a satisfying conclusion to a big crafting chain, uh, where it's not that the last step is getting trivialized, but you get a lot of small help from a lot of different sources that all compounds together and eventually gets you where you need to be. Now, of course, that's the idea. The execution is another matter, but hopefully you guys will be able to let me know. And I mean, uh, I I would assume that if somebody crafts TARDIS, everyone will know. So, and yeah, as of update, you'll get this auto builder as well, so that you don't need to use the copy paste setup, which was a bit janky. Okay, so yeah, I think in terms of what I wanted to go through, this is more or less it. I hope you guys enjoyed this showcase. Unless there are other things people want to bring up in chat, I think I can call it here. Thanks everyone for tuning in and for, I guess, writing messages in chat. And hopefully within a week or two, updates will come out, so you will actually be able to play all this content. But of course, Meatballcraft is a hobby for me, so things may get delayed depending on how work and other aspects of life go. But stay tuned. Hopefully, things will come out very, very soon. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in, and I hope to see you around on the Discord and in all the other places. All right.